What's up guys, B-Sauce here again, and today I'm going to show you how to polish black paint. Alright, first step is to wash it. There's a few different ways to do this depending on how dirty it actually is. I keep my truck fairly clean, just a little bit of surface dust for the most part. So I'm going to use some Chemical Guys VO7 quick detail spray just to kind of wipe it down. And this stuff does have lubricants in it, so if your paint's not incredibly dirty, it actually is pretty safe for the paint. And what you want to do is take a microfiber towel, make sure it's folded in four, and the trick to using a waterless kind of detailer like this is you want to go in an S pattern, so you're never wiping the dirt back over the paint. Now in this case, I'm going to be polishing the paint, so it doesn't really matter, but just wanted to show you guys that. And then you'll actually notice it's got a little bit of synthetic sealant in it, so it'll actually haze up a little bit like wax, and you can kind of just buff it clean. Now it looks pretty shiny, but I don't know if you can hear this. If I take my rubber glove, you hear that noise? So that is iron deposits actually embedded into the clear coat. So the brakes are the #1 cause of that on the road. Your brakes are kicking off iron. There's also lots of other contaminants out in the road, and those actually will sit on top of the clear coat, and that's what you use a clay bar to remove. So that's the next step. So now we're going to clay bar this panel. You don't want to polish anything before you clay bar, because otherwise you'll take those iron deposits that are in your clear coat and you'll actually rub them into your paint, and you'll actually swirl the paint worse. So now we're going to get a clay bar out. I use Chemical Guys for the most part. So I got Chemical Guys Clay Luber, Chemical Guys Medium Clay Bar. There's lots of different clay bars, lots of different lubricants. You can use soap and water. You can use quick detail spray. I like this lubricant quite a bit. It seems to be a little bit better than just using wax. So I'm going to show you how we do this. Always good too, before you do the clay bar, you want to wear gloves because this lube's going to it's blue and it'll stain your fingers. But this stuff gets stuck all over your fingers anyways. If you've never seen a clay bar before, it's really malleable, really sticky if you get a good clay bar. This does stick to the glove, so spray your hand down a little bit, get it wet. And what you want to do is, before you use the clay bar, unless it's brand new, if you can use these things 4 or 5 times before you throw them away, is you're actually going to take this, stretch it out, roll it into a ball, smash it in your palm, and that's kind of the shape you want. So you want it to basically fit under the palm of your hand, so when you're sliding it over, it's not going to slide out. Now if you do see contaminants like right here, you do want to pull these out. This is kind of an older clay bar. It's probably at the end of its life. Make sure there's not any big rocks or any pieces of metal in there, and you're good to go. So clay barring is pretty simple. A lot of detailers charge a lot of money for this, and it's really something that anyone can do. It doesn't take any skill at all. So spray a little lube down. Take the clay bar, and you don't want to push hard with this clay bar. That's another mistake a lot of people make. So you're actually just sliding it over the paint, and what it's doing is it's kind of rolling and grabbing the iron as you go over it. So you don't need to press real hard with this. So little short back and forth movements, and you'll actually hear it. So you can hear the paint's pretty bad right here, and you can hear the noise. As you start working through the paint and getting the contaminants off, it quiets down, and that's how you know you've basically gotten that panel done. Hardly any noise at all. I come over here where I haven't clayed yet. You can hear all the contaminants. Always a good idea to have a couple extra clay bars, because if you drop these on the ground, you cannot reuse them. Make sure to throw it away and use a fresh clay bar if it touches the floor. So now hear the difference. Dry glove, zero noise. It feels smooth as glass, but we're not done yet. So can't really see with the GoPro as well as I was hoping, but there are quite a bit of swirls still in the paint. So hopefully some of this shows up. So now it's time to start polishing. So I'm going to be using a Torque dual action polisher. These run about $300 or maybe $250 now. I bought it through Chemical Guys. I believe Torque is actually sister company to Chemical Guys, but this is an awesome polisher. One reason I like it so much is the palm grip here. It really cuts down on fatigue if you're doing an entire vehicle. Some of the other ones you have to grab with your hand. The cheaper ones, your hands will start getting really tired. This also has a lot less vibration than a lot of dual action polishers out there. So if you're doing a whole vehicle, I would really suggest investing in a nice dual action polisher. So I'm going to be using a Chemical Guys Hex Logic pad. This is an orange cutting pad. So there's orange, there's white, and there's black. There's lots of other colors, but the orange, white, and black are going to be the most common. Orange is a more aggressive pad. It's actually designed to cut through the clear coat and actually sand the clear coat down in combination with a compound. And then we'll switch over to a black finishing pad with a jeweler's polish in order to get all the buffing lines and the haze off. So we're going to put the pad on the polisher. We're going to prime the pad with some Chemical Guys pad conditioner. I'm going to be using Chemical Guys V36 optical grade cutting polish. This is kind of in between a cutting compound and an actual polish. You can get away on white cars and silver with just this, but if you're doing black or dark colors, you will see buff lines and you will need to follow up with a polishing compound. So about 5 or 6 little dots on here is about average. And then what you want to do is you want to press and kind of spread this out just a little bit. Once I spread it out, I usually give it one more misting of pad polisher. Just give some lubricant. If the cutting compound dries up, it'll create more heat and it'll mess up your paint. You'll actually swirl the paint. I've even seen the clear coat twist before because it got too hot. So now we're ready to start polishing. I'm going to set this to a 35. This goes up to 40. Set it to a 35. When you're using cutting compound and an aggressive pad like this, you want to put a slight amount of pressure down on the pad and go very slow and steady across every inch of the panel. Now be mindful of areas like this on the fender where you have edges that stick up. You want to make sure to not press down as hard as you're crossing over that edge because it will build up additional heat and you can damage the paint. You'll also notice that I tend to go vertically, then horizontally, then vertically, then horizontally as I'm polishing. It's the crosshatch pattern, and I typically will go 4 to 6 passes on each panel, but every paint is different. You basically just do it until you're getting the results that you want. So you'll notice this creates quite a bit of dust. Not every compound is the same, but generally when you're using a cutting compound, it's going to be a lot more gritty, and you're going to have a lot more of this white dust. And this is what stains your plastic. So this is exactly why I taped these off. This also makes quite a bit of a mess too. After you've done the whole vehicle with the V36, with the cutting compound, that dust literally gets everywhere. So normally what I do is I polish it with the cutting compound. I do a final polish with the jeweler's polish. Then I take it to a car wash with a high pressure rinse and get it out of all the little cracks, the crevices, get all that white powder out, and then take it back to the house and then coat it with wax. In this case, I'm actually doing a ceramic coat. Again, I'm using Chemical Guys. I'm going to be putting their Carbon Force on. And the reason I'm doing this is because I actually burnt through the clear coat. We'll see if we can see that. So I like keeping this truck very clean, but I also like to wheel it quite a bit. And I've got a lot of pinstripes in the past from going through branches and bushes. The edges here are where you want to watch out for because that's where the polisher is going to build up the most heat. So if you're pushing and putting too much pressure on that, you'll actually burn through that faster than you will the rest of the paint. Now in this case, this truck has been polished about 6 times, complete multi-stage polish, and Toyotas have a very, very thin clear coat. So you can actually see on the edge right here, I actually went right through the top layer, and you can see a little bit of the primer showing through. So that's why I'm doing a ceramic coat, because I basically have no clear coat left. I can't polish this truck again. It's going to start burning through all over the place and look like crap. So I figured this will at least buy me enough time so I can decide whether I want to paint, wrap it, or Line-X it. And I actually have a video coming up where I coated a door in Line-X, and I'm going to be doing a torture test to see how well that actually holds up, what stains it, what doesn't, before I make my decision. So this again is just to buy me some time. But this whole truck, double cab, long bed, Tacoma with the shell, I've been working on it about a day and a half now. So now I'm finally up to the front fenders and the hood. If you're polishing a full vehicle and you're doing a multi-stage polish where you're actually doing paint correction, it should take at minimum 10 to 12 hours, depending on the size of your car. But for a rule of thumb with detailers is a panel like a door, 1 hour per panel is what it should take for prepping, polishing, and getting the whole thing done. Now, obviously something like this, a little bit bigger. So this is kind of 2 panels if you look at it, door section. So 2 hours, 1 hour, 1 hour, you know, do the math, it adds up pretty quick. All right, now that we got the cutting part done, we're gonna go ahead and a little bit of quick detail spray, get the residue off. The reason you want to wash it in between and wipe this stuff off is because this is a cutting compound, which is gonna cut the clear coat and actually wear it down. Whereas the jeweler's polish, the next one we're gonna use, does not have the ability to remove scratches, swirls. It does not remove any of the clear coat. So if you have leftover residue from a compound and then you put your polishing pad on there, you're actually going to push cutting compound back into the paint as you're trying to polish, and it's going to take you a lot longer to get that shine that you're after. So in this case, a lot of people call it quits right here. They think, wow, that looks great. And again, if you hold up the light, I don't know how much you can see in this, but there are buff lines all over the paint, and it's a little bit hazy from that compound I used. Something you will not see in lighting like this. So if you're using LED lighting, if you don't have an orange light anywhere, you don't have direct sunlight, if you're looking at it from this angle, it looks flawless. Second you roll it outside in the sunlight, you're gonna see all the imperfections, and by that point, you probably already have wax on it. So now we're gonna switch over to a polishing compound. Another tip is buy a pad washing bucket. So as you notice, after you use the pad, it is going to build up residue. It's also picking off material off the car. And if you keep using this pad, it's gonna be much harder to get the results you're after, and you're actually gonna damage your paint, and you might be able to swirl it by using the same pad too long. A couple different ways to clean these. You can take the pad off, you can rinse it in water with soap. A lot of guys use air compressors if you have one. The air compressor is actually really cool. So you spin it with it on and hold the air compressor to the outside, moving it towards the center and then back out, and that'll blow most of the material off. Or they have these pad washing buckets. So this is a pretty cool invention. It's basically got a grate here, and it's got these 4 buckets with holes in the top. You fill it with water, and you'll see that the water squirts up. So when you put the pad down here, and you put it up and down, it squirts some of the water up to the pad. And then I use some Chemical Guys polishing pad cleaner. I'll show you how this thing works. So what you're gonna do is turn it on low speed, bob it up and down to get it wet, move it around, try to grind all that material off. And then once you're done, you're gonna hold it above, turn the polisher up, now you got a clean pad. This will make your pads last longer, it'll make work a lot easier, and you'll get the results that you're actually after. So clean your pads. I usually will do about 2 panels with 1 pad. So I'll do this door, I'll do this door, clean the pad, and then keep moving on. Some guys do it more, some guys do it less. It's just personal preference, but clean the pad. All right, now we're taking the polishing pad. This pad is really, really soft compared to the other one. Again, does not have the ability to cut. And again, we're gonna take some pad conditioner. And now we're gonna be switching to the Chemical Guys V38 optical grade final polish, oftentimes referred to as jeweler's polish. This stuff is super silky, super slippery. There's no grit whatsoever in this. And the idea with this is gonna remove all your buffing lines and any haze marks that were left over from the cutting compound. So again, just maybe a couple dabs here. Usually you need a little less of the polish than the actual compound. Now with this, you don't have to press at all. You can basically let the machine do its job. So it's a little bit easier. You don't have to go in the, up and down pattern. You can kind of just move it all over, keep it moving constantly. You're gonna go at a slightly lower speed, and you want to basically work this in until it starts to disappear. So you'll notice with the compound, leaves haze, it leaves a lot of material everywhere as you're working it, then you have to clean it off. This, when you're done with it, if you do enough passes and you really work it in, it should almost look like there's nothing left on the panel. So I'll show you. So when you switch to the final polishing pad and final polish, you don't need to put much pressure down on the pad at all. You also don't need to go very slow and very steady like you do with the cutting compound. So you'll notice I'm moving quite a bit faster. You don't need to worry about burning any paint or any improper techniques here. This pad and this polish don't really have the ability to damage the paint. All it's going to do is take out the buff lines from the cutting compound and remove any haziness that was left over from the last stage. All right, so you'll notice a little difference here from the last stuff. So a lot of sections like right here, it's already starting to get real shiny and smooth, and that's kind of what you want. I could have probably worked it in a little bit more, but I think I already got the results I was looking for. So some more detail spray. All right, and there you go. Got about 80 to 90% of the swirls and spider webs and other little imperfections out of the paint. I'm pretty happy. It is just a pickup truck. It's not a classic car or anything, so I think I'm gonna leave it here. And now let me show you with the light, if I can. And hopefully that part shows up, because that shows what I was hoping for right there. Still a little bit of residue over here, but again, once I finish it with this, then I usually take it to a car wash, use a quarter machine with the high pressure, get all that residue off, and then I put my wax on just to make sure that none of that is coated underneath the ceramic coat. There we go. So we're all polished up. The truck is now ready for wax, sealant, or in my case, ceramic coat. And I know that there's a lot of different methods of detailing as far as polishing goes. There's a lot of different products out there. By no means am I saying this is the only way or the best way. This is just one proven method to polish black paint using multiple pads, multiple compounds to get results like this. So I hope this helps for all you guys that are looking into buying your own polisher and doing your own paint correction. I encourage you to practice on a spare panel. Go to a body shop if you're looking at black paint at least. Try to find an old hood or a door, something that's damaged that you can practice on so you can burn through that paint, not your actual car. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. And if you have a question, just drop it down in the comment section. I'll make sure to reply.